To another episode of the Cattle USA Daily Podcast. Today we are bringing you your weekly weather report with Gary Lezak and the Weather 2020 team. And today we are talking all things major weather events, some things that happened over the past week. We're discussing those and how they've affected the weather so far. And then we are discussing the rest of the summer. So what do we have in store for July? We are talking some heat waves that are potentially going to come in, talking anti-cyclones. I think I got that word right. And just everything else that we are going to be seeing over the next couple months and any highs and lows within the weather. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this episode with Gary. Gary!
Good morning. And if it's not morning, at other parts of the day.
I love it. I love it. Gary, how are you? How's
I'm doing
life?
good.
How's everything?
Everything's good, but I heard you like overproofed your loaf and it didn't rise. What
How
happened?
dare you bring that on here?
I want to know what happened.
Yes.
I mean, this
Oh my
is your
gosh.
sourdough recipe, right?
Yes, my
It's the
perfect,
first time you've ever had a
amazing-
problem with it, right?
Yes, it is. It is. And it's
What
my own
happened?
fault. Okay. So it's warmer, right? It's summer. So things proof faster. And like a silly goose, I thought that it was a good idea to, instead of let my stuff like bulk ferment overnight all together, I went ahead and separated it into 3 different loaves. And so 3 different containers. Well, when you do that, ferments a lot faster, because
Right.
there's less of it. And so it rises and it falls much faster. And so when I woke up the next morning, there wasn't a nice big puffy thing of sourdough in each bowl. It was kind of a flat little blob. And I was like, maybe I can save this. Maybe it just needs a minute. And so then I went ahead and shaped all of it. And then I put it in the fridge so it could ferment and like finish rising in the fridge because we were going golfing for the day. Well, I came back and they were all kind of bricks in the fridge, not really rising and fluffy. And so I was like, we're going to throw this in the oven and see what happens. And I threw one in the oven and nothing happened. It was indeed a brick. Came out like a brick, and so I had to throw away 3 loaves of sourdough, and it was quite unfortunate, quite
But
heartbreaking.
you recovered and there's a new loaves brewing.
Yes, we have 2 new loaves that are they are rising right now, and they're going to be ready to bake here in about an hour. So I am coming back from disaster. I'm not letting it bring me down.
I heard you say
it
the
did
word.
hurt my soul.
I heard the word you said ferment. So fermenting,
Yes.
I just looked it up. Fermenting is a process where microorganisms like yeast and bacteria break down carbohydrates like sugars in food or drink, converting them into other substances like alcohol and acids. So this process is used to create a variety of foods and drinks, including beer, wine, yogurt, sauerkraut, and sourdough.
Yep. Would you
It's
look
amazing.
at that? Would you look at that? It is amazing. It's really cool. And like when it ferments, you can see all like, because it eats holes in it. And that's why your bread is like, has like, when you have sourdough bread, that's why like you see all the holes in it. That's like the fermenting holes where it's like eating away all of the goodness and the stuff, and the bacteria is doing its
sourdough. I need some sourdough.
I'm going to get your address from you, and I'm just going to ship you a loaf. And we're just going to hope that it shows up in good condition and you can enjoy some sourdough bread, because it is. I mean, not to toot my own horn, but my husband says it's better than the sourdough bread we were buying before I started making it myself. So,
well, I can imagine. I'm ready for it.
I love it. But yes, we're coming back from disaster today. I am bound and determined to make a better loaf of sourdough and not let it bring me down.
We should
Duly
all make
noted in the future.
loaves.
Never separate out your stuff before you bulk ferment.
Yeah.
How's everything with you, Gary? I hear you are no longer on the air, and you're back to life. And not waking up at 1 a.m. to be on the air.
Yeah, I filled in for Lindsay Anderson at KSHB, the NBC station in Kansas City, and I filled in for 12 weeks. My assignment ended Thursday. The fans want me to keep going, but I am done. I get to sleep in. I woke up at 5 a.m, and that was sleeping in. And I went to work out, had a really good workout. My shoulder is almost 100%, which is good. It took 7 weeks. So injury is almost 100%, but it's not quite there yet.
We're getting there. Progress is being made.
Yeah. So, but yeah, and then since then, the day I left, the next day is July the 4th, and we're getting a little disruption here.
You're all good.
Am I good? Can you see me okay?
Yep, I can see you.
All right. On my end, it's frozen. So anyway, 3, 2, 1. I finished my work on TV on Thursday, July 3rd, and then Thursday night, Friday morning, we had a major weather disaster in Texas, so along the Guadalupe River, and it's fascinating what happened. As of right now, 111 people are dead. There's another 150 or so missing, so that death toll could rise. They haven't found anybody alive since July 4th. So what a scary, horrible way to end your life. It's a nightmare for the families going through it. It's like, did this really happen? When something sudden like that happens and people are enjoying their lives along the riverbed on a holiday weekend, it's hard to believe. I can't even imagine what it would be like for those families, So there's a whole LRC connection to it. So should I tell you about that?
Yeah, tell us about it. Tell us about it.
So, when a flash flood warning is issued, how many people act? When there's a tornado warning, a lot of times people don't act on a tornado warning until you see it coming towards your house and it's 1 minute from hitting you. Then people act. They scramble to get into their safe place at the last second. Oh my gosh, I'm actually going to possibly get hit, because the odds are so low you're going to. So even with a tornado warning, people don't act. With a flash flood warning, in what they call flash flood alley through there, you would think that they would be a little better prepared, but that was a historic flood, probably the worst one they've ever had, but they've had others. The LRC, here's where the LRC comes in. The pattern cycling is about 41 days. We've been going over example after example after example. Well, on June 29th and 30th, Tropical Storm Barry formed right near the Mexico coast. That moisture from Barry moved inland, moved north into Texas, and it's over southeast Texas on July 3rd. And on July 3rd night, that thunderstorm complex starts forming, and you can see on satellite picture that it gets pulled into that complex of thunderstorms, and we end up having this major flood warning. So there was 2 or 3 days before that developed to know that if something did form, there would be an enhanced probability of a major flood, even if they only had 6 hours warning. But here it would help. But here is where the LRC comes in. Last fall, October 19th and 20th, there was a tropical storm Nadine that formed as the LRC was setting up for the year. Once Nadine formed, we can use that formation where it formed, track towards Mexico, to predict that around late June, early July, there may be a tropical system. And I'm not just saying that. It is in our hurricane forecast guide that we put out March 24th that predicted that the first early season projection of a possible tropical system is late June, early July, forming right where Barry formed, moved into Mexico. So there's a whole LRC connection that would have said, Texas, watch out around July 4th weekend. I'm not saying I didn't predict this flood. And maybe in the future we'll be able to predict something as localized as that and as horrible as it is. But 3 or 4 hours before, maybe the warnings are a little more stronger. The authorities are a little better prepared, and they can go into campsites and start warning people. It's raining like crazy. There's a potential for a flood. We advise you to move to higher ground. And let's say 10 people did that would have been killed. That's 10 people that were saved. So it's possible. But just know there's a whole LRC connection there. But what do you think? It's a horrible disaster,
It was absolutely terrible. And it couldn't have happened on a worse time, right? Because it was a holiday weekend. So everyone was out on the river. Everyone was there. Everyone was there camping. Everyone was there enjoying their lives, doing different things. It couldn't have happened at a worse time. And it's just absolutely heartbreaking, the things that happen. And it's one of those situations that I think about it all the time. Like I get a flash flood warning on my phone from the National Weather Service. I don't think twice about it. Like, right. I genuinely don't. I get a tornado warning, and that's just kind of the Kansan in me. We're like, okay, we're going to keep our eyes open. but you don't do a whole lot about it. And I think that it just really humbles you when things like this happen and you're like, wow, that, like, I guarantee you, most of them were like, oh, it's fine. Like, it's never risen this high, or this shouldn't be an issue here, or we're on higher ground, we'll be fine. But it's just absolutely heartbreaking what has
Right.
happened and what continues to.
Probably, I don't know what kind of signs are up, but there should be some signage. I'm just thinking out loud. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Flash flood zone. If there are thunderstorms, especially at night, pay closer attention. You
Mm-hmm.
never know what kind of warnings. A lot of little things that could be thought out. You don't want to
Yeah.
overreact, but it was a major disaster. Probably won't happen there, but it's going to happen somewhere, again. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
but
Just
with this LRC,
heart-wrenching.
remember, it's a 41-ish day cycle. So what's 41 days after July 4th? It's around August the 14th, 15th. So if there's another thunderstorm complex about then, let's remember this podcast on this week so we can go back and say, hey, we thought that there's a chance of it could return either in August or September.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. What's happening outside of that? What else is happening in the weather, Gary?
Well, the summer pattern is setting up and it is in full force now. And so we look to see where those anticyclones are, where they are. They're going to create heat wave creating machines. And so we have this heat wave creating machine right now while we're talking late this week. We have one forming over Southern California and Arizona. That's where it's supposed to form. Arizona, New Mexico, that's where these systems like to form. And so we have the potential for a heat wave out southwest. But then that is forecast to move off the California coast. And that brings chances of thunderstorms back to Kansas and Missouri, and Nebraska and Iowa. In fact, some of the latest data has like 12 inches of rain in Iowa in the next 10 days. So there could be a flooding problem up there for some of the cornfields. So we'll see. But the only thing that's going to completely stop the rain is if one of these anticyclones forms overhead. I still think later this month, one of those is going to happen, probably around the 20th of July, the 30th of July, maybe the first few days of August. But even that's fleeting. That should move by in 3 days. It shouldn't last very long. So,
Can you explain how those anti-cyclones kind of work?
yeah. So, yes, very good question. Anticyclones are the opposite of a cyclone. A cyclone is a storm system, a low pressure area that rotates counterclockwise. And an anticyclone is one that rotates clockwise. So you have a cyclone can be a tornado, it could be a hurricane, it could be a strong storm system. That's a cyclone. An anticyclone is the opposite of that, and the air sinks in the middle of these things. And when air sinks, it causes the subsidence causes the heat to develop. So sinking air will lead to heat, and then you end up compressing the air and it gets hotter. And because the air is sinking, I don't know if I lost signal with you again.
Nope, you're good. I can hear you.
Yeah, this stupid thing. Because the air is sinking, it causes it to get hot. So it can grow on itself. But fortunately, we have this thing called the LRC, and it moves them around. We can show where it's going to move. But if one of those forms overhead, you have sinking air, you end up with heat. It can warm up to 5 to 8 to 10 to 12 degrees above average. Bad summers, it'll be 110 degrees. But we already now know, here we are already in the middle of July, right? We haven't had any heat like that yet. So the good news is that it hasn't formed yet, but I do expect a couple of hot stretches ahead with rain all around it on both sides of it.
Good to know. Good to know. What else are we looking out for the rest of the summer as we finish up July, go into August? Any other things that we should be keeping our eyes on?
The jet stream reaches its weakest point and farthest north position at the very end of July into the first week of August. As soon as you get to 1 month from right now, the jet stream will be at its weakest point and it'll start strengthening. So at that point, the new LRC begins to evolve likely, and you have August 10th to 15th, the very initial stages of that, but it's still the old weather pattern that continues all the way into September. But as we go through August into early September, the jet stream starts shifting south, and it may shift rain patterns just a little bit, but it'll be an energizing part of the pattern as it develops. So storm systems will start getting stronger. And but that's something to look forward to. Between now and then, the doldrums of summer, the dog days of summer will be coming.
Yes, we are here. It's after July 4th, right? Is when they officially start, is when the dog days of summer, I think they say they start. So we're here, we're there. It's warming up. It's getting muggy, it's getting hot, and it sounds like it's going to continue to do that here for a little while. So, any other things that we need to touch on today, Gary?
No. We'll do some more research on the dog days. I think it's in August because it has something to do with the dog star. Yeah, let me see if I can call it up real quick and so I give you some answers here. Nowadays, you can just text it and call it. The term dog days refers to the hot, humid period of summer traditionally occurring in July and August in the Northern Hemisphere. It's associated with the rising of the star Sirius, also known as the dog star, which the ancient Romans believed added to the sun's heat. So it really doesn't, but they thought it did.
The more you know. The more you know. That's
There you
crazy.
go.
I love it. Amazing.
So that happens
It's a
in
perfect way to
August.
end out the podcast. Well, hey, we're bringing the fun facts to everyone today. We're talking about if you make sourdough, not to let your stuff bulk ferment separately. And then if you want to know about the dog days of summer, you know officially when they are and why they're called that. So bringing all the fun facts to everyone today, as we always do. We're just kind of all over the place.
Instead
But
of throwing away those sourdough bricks, you could probably have sent them to some of your friends you don't like too much.
I should have just baked them out and then been like, here you go. Here's your loaf of sourdough that you asked for. And it's just an absolute brick. Yeah, no, I duly noted. That is what we will be doing next time. I should have just made focaccia with it. You can overproof sourdough. Like if you overproof it, you can just make some focaccia. And that's what I should have done. I should have just accepted my defeat and made some focaccia, and I'd have some delicious focaccia in the fridge. But had to power through and get some crappy bread, but it's fine. It's fine. The rats at the trash facility will appreciate it. They can eat some sourdough bread.
Excellent.
Well, perfect. Awesome. Well, Gary, as always, thank you for your time today. We so appreciate it. And we will see everyone else on another episode of the Cattle USA Daily Podcast next time. Have a good one, y'all.